reason that I moved was because I wanted to get into dating. Within the past like 6 or 7 months that I've been here, I have learned so much. If it doesn't work out with the person that you're dating, that doesn't mean that either of you are horrible human beings or that there's immediately something wrong with either of you. It just means that you're incompatible. When I first started dating and someone wasn't interested in me, my immediate reaction would be, oh man, what did I do wrong? If I had only been pretty enough to them, if I'd only been smart or funny enough to them, then they would still be talking to me. But that's just not how it works. And I learned that if someone ghosts you, it's actually kind of a blessing. Even if it feels terrible in the moment, it's kind of a blessing because it means that that person is eliminated now, you know? Like, you don't really have to consider them for a romantic partnership anymore. You can just move on to the next person. And I used to think whenever people would reject me, that it meant that I was, losing out on the love of my life and I had done something to screw it up. But it just means that you're incompatible. Another thing that I learned is to not worry if the person I'm dating is a terrible person or not, or if they're gonna let me down. I was always scared that I would fall in love with someone and I would be years into the relationship only to find out that they're abusive, which sometimes can be the case, but I do think at least a certain percentage of the time, we ignore small behaviors that the other person shows. So when I'm dating, I'm not necessarily worried about if they're gonna let me down or not because I will see through their actions. And I trust myself to not ignore those actions. If my intuition is feeling weird or uncomfortable on the date at all, my first reaction used to be, to try to talk myself out of how I was feeling. I'd be like, oh, you're being crazy, your standards are too high. You want too much from someone that they can't possibly provide. But the amazing thing about the human body is that intuition is a real thing. And that your body will let you know through, your emotions, through physical signs, that something is off. Sometimes that means that you need to go to therapy because you have an anxiety disorder, especially in romantic relationships, which is very valid and what I get therapy for at the moment. But it's also totally valid that the person that you're dating might be doing something to make you anxious, to trigger that anxious response. Though humans are fundamentally social, and though I think that our generation is incredibly lonely and we should have more time to socialize with one another, I do think that it is imperative to get used to your own company and to be okay with being alone. I also think that it's BS whenever people in a relationship tell single people, oh, you have to be happy with yourself before anyone can love you. No, that is factually incorrect. That is literally factually incorrect. You're telling me that if I'm insecure about myself, then it's impossible for someone else to love me. Yeah, tell that to my parents. Tell that to my other friends. I can be insecure all I want. That does not affect someone else loving me. In a way, I get what they're saying. It could affect your relationship with someone. If you're insecure, it definitely makes it more difficult to have a relationship with someone. But someone having feelings for you is separate from your insecurity. And I just feel like saying that to single people also implies that they're just not loving themselves enough. I feel like a lot of people in their singleness, or even people in relationships talking about single people, are like, oh yeah, you have to be happy by yourself. You can't actually want a romantic relationship because that's desperate. But if you think about a romantic partner, they are basically a best friend that you do romantic things with. What could be better than that? When we talk about best friends, these are the people that you go to in your times of need. These are the people that you laugh with. They have your back. And to have someone who is like that, but who I can also see in a romantic way, kind of a slam dunk. It makes no sense to me why I shouldn't want that, or why I wouldn't want that. And I think people say that and really feel that whenever they just haven't found their person yet. I truly think if we all genuinely had the option of having someone that is incredible in our lives versus not having someone incredible in our lives, I feel like a lot of people would choose having someone incredible in their lives. Oh, well, you don't need a romantic relationship. You don't need love in order to survive. Technically, that's true. But here's something that I don't think people have considered. You can survive on liquids and food. These liquids don't have to be, plain water. They can be soda and alcohol and, sugary tea. The food that you eat can be chips, convenience food, fast food. You can technically live on that. And in order to survive, you don't actually have to exercise 3 times a week. You can sit on your couch and, your exercise can be your walk to the fridge. You can live like that. And the point that I'm making is you can survive doing all of those things. What I think we should be asking ourselves is, how do we thrive? I thrive by drinking 8 glasses of water a day. I thrive by exercising 3 times a week, not all the time. Sometimes I skip. I don't need to have a huge salad every day, but I do. Why? Because it helps me thrive. And this is sort of how I view romantic relationships. I sure as hell do not need a man or a woman to date, but a really good romantic relationship with a fantastic partner standing beside me that I could support, and someone who could also support me, that would help me thrive. So I guess it technically isn't needed for the bare minimum, but at this point in civilization, we shouldn't even be talking about the bare minimum. Like, who cares about the bare minimum? We need more than that. Another thing that I've learned in dating, it is not worth to date someone who gives you a bunch of great moments, but also some very questionable moments. Good behavior does not excuse bad behavior. But in dating, I used to see all of these positive attributes in my partner. I would look at them and I'd be like, oh, they're so funny. They offered to pay for dinner, like they're very considerate. But then they would do something weird. I met this guy that I thought was really cute, very funny. Kept a good conversation, asked me really good questions on the date, seemed like he was very interested in getting to know me, and then was rude to the waitstaff. Like I said, people will show you through their actions. The real question is, are you gonna ignore it or cut them out of your life? When we're talking about dating and all of these exciting romantic memories, it was getting ready for the date. That was exciting. That was the part that I loved the most. So that's it.